as the revenue that this industry has created has only continued to expand, more and more companies have sprung up to support us in our efforts. And millions of dollars of venture capital have poured in. And so it's really stunning and amazing all of the solutions that are available. And it seemed crazy to me that there wasn't a great way for us to really be able to look across the whole landscape and know and become aware of the solutions that were available. And so that really became my goal with the creation of the website STR Hub. And it's a massive undertaking. Welcome to the Short Term Rental Solutions Show. I'm your host, Christianne Crump. As a short term rental host myself, I've decided to roll up my sleeves, make the calls, get educated, and take you with me. You and I are learning together as I have conversations with the innovators that are designing the solutions that are shaping our industry. I'm going to make sure you stay in the know, and we'll uncover the tools and strategies that will help you overcome obstacles, maximize revenue, and optimize your short-term rental business. So buckle up and let's jump in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of the Short-Term Rental Solutions Show. I am so excited to finally be kicking this off. I've been working on the concept and actually recording episodes already for this show, but holding back on recording this very first episode because I wanted to be sure that as I spoke with you today and introduced myself and introduced this podcast, I'd really be able to effectively communicate what you can expect as you tune into this show and where we're going with this. So, allow me just a minute to introduce myself, and then I'll explain where we're going with the show and what it's going to look like moving forward. So, my name is Christianne Crump. I am a short term rental host. I've been in the business for just a couple of years now and have a couple of properties. I have a property that's about 2 hours north of me. And then I also have a property that I remotely manage clear across country. So, it's been great. And really, my work that I am doing here with this podcast and also with a website that I have is out of the experience and the pain points that I felt as I was starting my business and getting set up in this industry. When I first began, I created a little bit of a network and connected myself with people who are already in the space. And my husband and I, we already had a property that we had purchased years ago, back in 2014, that was just a family vacation property. That's the one that's about 2 hours north of us on a lake by two ski resorts, all of the things that we love to do as a family. And when we decided to step into this space, we knew that that would be a really great property for using as a short term rental. So that was back in 2021. We began remodeling that, and it was super dated. It needed a ton of work, but we launched into that and got that going. But then we're simultaneously looking for a potential property to purchase because we were also interested in some of the tax advantages that can come with investing in real estate and particularly short term rentals. So, shortly thereafter, we found a property down in Gulf Shores, Alabama. It checked all the boxes as far as what we were looking for. And so we were remodeling our property here and then also bringing this other property in Gulf Shores online. And that kept us busy for a couple of months. But then both of those launched, and here we are. All of a sudden, we're doing this short term rental thing. And everybody, I mean, I think if you're already in this space, you know what that journey looks like. There is a ton of moving parts involved with starting your short term rental business. You've got not only the nitty gritty of getting your listing created, getting your licensing, any permits that were necessary. I did have to go through a permitting process for one of my properties. Basically, just a licensing process for the other. You got to get teams and systems put in place, particularly if you're going to be remote managing. And then you also have, all of that property setup. That's really only a very small portion of what it looks like to actually run your short term rental business. The bulk of operations actually happens, you know, just at home, managing the day to day. That's what it looks like for me, at least. I'm just messaging my guests and doing the day to day, the accounting and whatnot that's involved with running my business. And I found that creating those systems and choosing the right tools to really make sure that as I ran my business, it was efficient. I have lots of other things that command my time, and likely you do too. And so I wanted to make sure that as I set up my business and started running here, that I could automate and streamline and create a really sound foundation to my business. And in order to do that, as a beginner, just getting started, I really leaned very heavily on my network that I had created, asking people for their input on what they were using and the systems and operations that they had in place that were working for them, which was great. I was definitely able to put things together and get the ball rolling. But then as the dust settled, I began to realize that maybe some of the solutions and choices that I had made and things that I had put together weren't necessarily the best for my business and my goals. And what I mean by that is there's a whole spectrum of people in this short-term rental industry, ranging from maybe people who only have a handful of properties, and that's they're satisfied with that. They do not intend to add more properties and grow a full-fledged portfolio. Maybe there are people, well, I know there are people in the industry who began in that space, but now have their goals have expanded and they're looking to actually create their own portfolio or get into hosting, co-hosting and property management and begin managing other people's portfolio. As you transition and move into those other phases of your business, the systems and operations of your business need to evolve and change. And then you have on the other end of the spectrum, the full fledged property management companies that have 100, 200, 300 plus properties. Those are robust enterprise level businesses. And the needs and the systems that are put in place for those businesses are likely very different than the needs and the systems that are required for people on the other end of the spectrum who are managing a smaller portfolio. And some of the people that I was connecting with and talking with, they weren't necessarily in the same place that I was as someone new in the business. And so I began to second guess the things that I had put into place and really wonder if the solutions and the systems were actually what was best for my business, and looking at what my goals are. I do plan to grow a portfolio, but this point, don't hold me to this because things could potentially change. But at this point, I personally do not have any intentions to become a full fledged property manager. And that's okay because there's space in that industry for everyone. And truly, more people actually sit on that end of the spectrum of having a handful of properties in their portfolio than are full-fledged property management companies. If you actually look at Airbnb and the OTAs, there are more properties held by the kind of self-managing owners than the full-fledged property management companies. So, all that aside, here I was trying to create a business and create some systems so that I could run my portfolio of properties and prepare myself to scale a little bit and continue to add properties to my portfolio. And I found as I started doing my own research that I was surprised. I was actually shocked by the number of solutions and companies that were out there that could help me create my quote tech stack. And beyond just the tech stack, connecting me with the service providers that could help support me in my business, in my goals to really create an efficient business and have it run light and lean, basically. And as I started finding these different companies and these different possibilities and talking to people, I was surprised how many people had no idea about these companies. I found that we kind of get into a little bubble almost as it were. We find a little community and a little network of people, and in a lot of cases everybody's kind of using the same thing, or there's like a small handful of things that the majority of the people that you associate with are likely to use in their business. And the more educated I got, the more dissatisfied I was with the fact that there could potentially be other companies and other professionals and other solutions out there that might be a more optimal fit for me and my business that I wasn't utilizing merely because of the fact I didn't know what I didn't know, and my friends didn't necessarily know. And so I really became personally motivated on getting educated because I wanted to run my business professionally. And as a professional, it really, I mean, who wants to run a business without fully understanding the options that are available to you and fully understanding and making sure that the systems and solutions that you're utilizing actually truly the best fit instead of just kind of going with the low hanging fruit that other people around you are utilizing. That mattered a lot to me. Maybe that resonates with you too. And so, where I began going is a personal journey of deciding to really get educated and cast a very wide net and do some pretty in depth research. And so, as that continued and unfolded, the stack of information that I collected just grew and grew and grew. And I realized that and I could see. I was on social media. I was talking with other people and looking around me, connecting with people at conferences, and I could see that everybody else was having the same struggle that I was. We are all trying to optimize our businesses and really create lean, efficient operations, but not having real confidence in what we're necessarily putting together. And so I could see people asking lots of questions of others in our short term rental community, wanting to make sure that what they put together for their businesses really was a good fit. And as I saw that and then knew how much information I had gathered together, I knew that there would be benefit and I could really provide a lot of value and support if I had a way to share this information. And so, I mean, think about that. I've done tons of demo calls at this point. I've spent time researching a ton of different companies. What would be a way that I could share that? Like a gargantuan Facebook post. I mean, no, that's completely ridiculous. So it really, the more I thought about this, it really made sense. I needed to create a website. I needed to create a home for all of the information that I had gathered and create it as a way that it could serve a lot of people. And I wanted it to be free for the hosts and the property managers. I wanted it to be what I would have loved to have found when I started in the industry. And so here I am now with this website, strhub.com. It's been a labor of love. I've truly enjoyed getting the chance to get educated and learn about all these different amazing companies. We all know that our industry has just exploded, and more people have decided to jump into hosting, co hosting property management. And as the revenue that this industry has created has only continued to expand, more and more companies have sprung up to support us in our efforts, and millions of dollars of venture capital have poured in. And so it's really stunning and amazing all of the solutions that are available. And it seemed crazy to me that there wasn't a great way for us to really be able to look across the whole landscape and know and become aware of the solutions that were available. And so that really became my goal with the creation of the website, STR Hub. And I mean, it's a massive undertaking, and I will frankly say that the website is not completed. Truthfully, it's just in its infancy. It's gonna be an evolution. I know that the user experience is gonna continue to evolve, and the breadth of information that's found there is only gonna continue to expand and grow as I and my small little team continue to work to bring as much information into one place as we possibly can. I'm very passionate about that, and I it's driven by my desire to serve the industry and to serve the people. I saw this lacking and knew that if I could accomplish this, it could bring tremendous value, not only for the hosts, co-hosts, property managers, but also for the companies. I mean, I'm telling you, these companies have created amazing solutions for our business. And I want to help them get found as well. I want to bring together both the users and the creators, and we're all going to benefit by being educated, kind of that marketplace of knowledge, as it were. So that's how the website came to be. And then once it launched, and in conjunction with opportunities I've had over the last year to be at various conferences, I eventually connected up with Will Slickers of Hospitality FM. Many of you probably already know him. A lot of tremendous podcasts in the hospitality space have come about as a result of his work with Hospitality FM. But he took a look at what I was doing, and the goals that I had, and the where I was going with STR Hub. And he recognized that there was value that could be brought to this podcasting space by creating this additional effort in kind of this offshoot of my work with STR Hub and creating this podcast. So, as he extended that invitation to me, I really began pondering what would be the best way to support the website and to provide an additional layer of value and education to people in the short-term rental space. And so I'd already been a consumer of many podcasts, but I really began listening with kind of another mindset, really trying to understand what was already being given through podcasts and where I could potentially bring something a little bit unique or a little spin on things and provide additional value. And what I felt like I heard was a lot of amazing companies, right? A lot of the companies that you're already very familiar with coming on to podcasts and obviously educating in a variety of different ways. But what I felt like I heard was that they would come on and that they would just speak more in generalities and be providing general education, tips, tricks, best practices. Obviously, that information is extremely valuable and extremely important. But for me, and what I was looking for and kind of hungry for in this space, that those types of podcasts and that type of information left me wanting, which probably rightly so, right? The point is that they tell you enough that you're interested in their company, and then you're going to go find them, look them up online. But do people necessarily have the time and want to take that additional step to go do that research? I really feel like that is a major obstacle and a major barrier because we are busy. I'm busy, at least. I don't know if you're busy, but I have so much on my plate. And when I sit down to the block of time that I've set aside to work on my business, I want to be like going for it, like right at it and working. I don't want to be spending my time researching other companies. It was frustrating to me personally when I have this precious time, right? Time management and time freedom, probably more valuable than money even. When I have my time that I've chosen to work on my business, I don't want to spend time trying to find the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different companies that can help me with something, and then they all require a demo. So now I need to take another chunk of my important time to come back to sit on those demo calls to get educated and learn all the ins and outs and do that over and over and over times 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Eventually you just get like fatigue. You're like, whatever, I've here's these 2 or 3 good enough. I'm just going to go with this one. That seems like a really weak way to make a business decision. Unsatisfying for me. Hopefully, I would imagine that there are other people who are like, "Yeah, that's actually not the best way. I really wanted a better way." And, hence STR Hub. But what I hope you get, the value that I hope that this podcast brings, and where it's slightly different than a lot of the other podcasts that you may choose to listen to, is that when I bring guests on this short-term rental solution show, I abbreviating it, wanting to abbreviate it to the STR Solutions Show, but the short-term rental solutions show, when you come and listen to an episode of the show, I want to be bringing you more comprehensive information about the companies and the people who are providing these solutions. My goal is that by the time you finish listening to an episode, not only are you aware of that company, you've learned enough through the course of the conversation that I've had with those guests that you could confidently say whether or not you feel like that could potentially be a good fit for your business. I'm going to be asking the type of questions that I would ask if I was going to be doing a demo call with that company. And not necessarily just talking about tips and tricks and best practices. These guests and the people who have created these companies are extremely knowledgeable. And obviously, there's going to be some value that's going to come out as a result of the conversations. But the primary objective of this show and the episodes and the conversations that I'm having with them is to bring you in and let you ride shotgun, basically, as I'm getting educated on all the information about these companies so that when you have this bit of time that maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're loading the dishwasher or folding laundry. I have no idea where you find the sliver of time in your day to listen to a podcast or two, but I really want to provide tremendous value for you so that you will come away educated and knowledgeable. And over the course of the episodes that continue to roll out, if you subscribe and become a regular listener, I guarantee you that you will grow in your confidence of understanding all of the different options that are available to you. And so when it's time for you to, you know, potentially your business goals are evolving and you're ready to make some changes, you're not gonna have to take all the time that it took me to get educated because 'cause you've already created this wealth of knowledge and this library of information over the course of listening to these shows. And so that's really my goal. I It's frustrating to me that there's kind of this knowledge gap, and I don't wanna say ignorance, but the industry is so fractured and the information about all these solutions is so fractured, and I'm not willing to settle for that, and hopefully you aren't either. And so that's the solution and that's the goal with what I'm trying to accomplish here. And taking it even one step further, having a conversation and, the audio portion of, podcast as an audio platform. For many of the episodes on the show, there's going to be bonus video content. As I record with these guests, I will be recording video as well as audio. Obviously, a lot of podcasts do that nowadays, but I'll be doing that, and then as the actual audio portion of the podcast ends, the video portion will continue, the conversation will continue, and what I'm asking my guests is obviously where it's appropriate and applicable, is inviting them to provide a little sneak peek, a glimpse under the hood of the solutions that they've built and the platforms so that you can get a beginning sense and a feeling of what it actually looks like to use that platform. And as I said, I've recorded a couple of episodes already. I am so grateful for the people who and these companies are so generous. They've been more than happy to stay on with me for a couple of more minutes, go into the platform, show me one or two features, just kind of give a high level overview. I feel like there's tremendous value in that. I would have found that tremendously valuable. And so I guess I'm basing my opinion on the value that that brings on how grateful I would have been for having had that type of a resource when I first got started. And I will also kind of put a little asterisk on that comment to say that that information, in addition to being connected to the podcast, we also have the ability, we're going to be providing the podcast on strhub.com and our YouTube channel. And as I'm working with these companies, one of the ways in which strhub.com is continuing to evolve and grow and bring more and more value is that these companies are being very generous with, if they have a demo that's basically already recorded for their company or their product, we are able to include that on their product listing page on STR Hub. So you can go there and not only read about the information that I've gathered, which we've really tried to do a deep dive and because the website is created by myself who am in the industry, I really tried to pull information out about these companies that are the types of things that I would need to know in my decision making process. And so but having like the recorded demo, that's just one more amazing piece of information there. So you can quickly get the information about a number of companies in one visit to the website. So that's basically where I'm going with the podcast, the value that you can expect to get and the education that you can expect to get if you choose to subscribe and spend a little time with us on a weekly basis. I'm telling you, there are so many companies I can have years of episodes, not only just telling you about the different companies and not only technology. I also it is stunning. There are literally hundreds of platforms where you could list your site, hundreds of OTAs basically. And so I want to get educated on some of those. I want to know if there's other places that I could just expand my distribution of my listings. And so I want to talk to some of the people behind some of these really innovative and interesting OTAs that have come up. I also want to talk to some of the service providers who are helping support us in other aspects of our business. So I don't want you to think that this is just going to be a show that's just focused on technology. There are tons of technology companies, but think about it between the technology, the service providers, the different platforms where we can list. I mean, it probably goes into the thousands with the potential of people that could be on this show. So I'm looking forward to getting educated. I'm looking forward to bringing you along and am really just so thankful. I guess I'll just close with an expression of gratitude to Will and the Hospitality FM team for this opportunity, for the opportunity to serve. I am really driven and motivated to move forward in a service driven. I guess that's the only way I can think of to say it. Providing service for you in the podcast, providing service on the website, providing service to the different companies that are bringing these solutions. I want to be a connector. I want to be an educator, all those different types of things. So here I am stepping into a new realm. Never thought that I would have a podcast, literally never thought that I would have a website. But all of these efforts originate from and are driven out of my desire to serve and bring value basically on all levels of the industry. The people who run these companies and who have created these solutions are fantastic people. And not only will you be learning about the companies, but I wanted to take a couple of minutes at each episode to kind of introduce those people and where they are and how they've gotten into this space. I have loved getting to know that's kind of a supplementary fruit of my labors with STR Hub is I have loved connecting with people in our industry, whether it's the CEOs or just people in, different departments in these companies. These are amazing companies and you will learn as you listen to the episodes that they're also very passionate about this industry. And for a lot of them, the solutions that they've created are born out of their own experiences in the industry. And I love that. That's certainly what led to the creation of my efforts and what I'm working on creating. And so I love that we're kind of all in it together and we've all had experiences that have led us to create these solutions because we're all looking to, as this industry continues to evolve and mature, we're all looking to make things better across the board for everybody. And I can really get behind that mentality. And it makes me so thankful to be in this space and in this industry where I see that that's what people are doing and that's how we're trying to serve and help each other. So thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time to sit down here with me, or, well, to listen with me. I'm sitting down to join me today on this very first episode of the Short Term Rental Solutions Show. I'm so excited about the episodes that are coming up. Fantastic people, amazing companies and solutions. And I will tell you that as I've gone along and recorded, I think I'm getting better at this. So be patient with me if you're kind of just laughing as you listen to the first couple of episodes. It's been so great though. And again, I'm just loving this and really excited how I can serve and benefit the community that we have here in short term rentals.